G'day folks, Scott here from Father and Son Hunting. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 2. In today's episode, you're going to get a chance to take a look at the 4 bucks that I had a crack at last year during bow season. After that, I'm going to show you the big tom that came out my way with 5 hens. You get a chance to see if I got them or not. Stay tuned. Father and Son Hunting is dedicated to preserving and sharing the wonderful opportunity to hunt, fish, and enjoy our outdoor heritage. We could keep our experiences to ourselves, but we'd rather share them with you and encourage you to do likewise. Father and Son Hunting, living our outdoor dream.
Today's hunt brought to you by Attach-A-Cam, Field Torque Knives, SRB Field Rests, Tebow's Rugged Pack, Sitting Hawk, Rhino Skin, Wolf Brewing Company, Blue Water Taxidermy.
So here we go folks, deer season 2013. Just a quick recap of our deer hunt. I can tell you our shotgun hunt went very well. We had lots of deer, lots of guys out, and we had a great time. As far as the bow season, it was a little bit different. The first day of bow season in October, I decided to go for a walk and check some things out, look for some sign, see what I could find. Then I thought, you know what, if we're going to do that, I might as well take the bow with me and see what happens. So, sure enough, I go out, set up, and sun comes up, and doesn't a big buck appear across the field? A nice 8-point, started to feed it there in front of me. And as I'm sitting there, I'm realizing that this guy is going to come right towards me and potentially within shooting distance. So as I'm sitting there and this deer starts getting closer and closer, and I'm getting some decent footage. It was still early, definitely enough shooting light. I had to make some decisions. It was the first day, it was quite warm that day, and I was going to need some help with this deer if I did actually take it. As he got a bit closer, I decided to let it go. I figured it was the first day of bow season. I'll see him again, right? And I have some more help on a different day. So he walked by, and as it goes, I never had another crack at him again. I saw him on 2 other occasions about 100 yards away running past on the edge of the bush line, and then another morning, a really foggy morning, and he stepped out in the same field and he never actually got close enough. So he was a decent 8. I know he's back there again this year, so I'm looking forward to see him again. Now the second buck that I'm going to show here, this big guy, he was a beautiful big 9-point buck, hunting in a lodge along an edge of a bush line, and doesn't he pop out, and he is roughly 200 plus yards away. He stepped out and he walks along the edge, and as he was doing that, I actually took my camera and the video camera to try and adjust it and readjust it a little bit and move it, and I think he noticed the glare on the lens, and he popped his head up and stared at me for at minimum 5 minutes and didn't move a muscle. It was very interesting to watch. We had a stare-down competition for about 5 minutes. I eventually won it. I think it calmed him down and after a bit, and then he carried on. He worked a scrape for a little bit, licked up some apple trees there on the branch, and then unfortunately I was hoping he was going to come right around, but he didn't. He turned around and went back to the far edge of the field. So at most I was about 220 from him. I never got much closer than that, but he was a real beauty 9-point, and I'm looking to hopefully get him in my sights for 2014. The third buck was interesting. I was at a point, a brushy point in a field along the edge, and I was doing some rattling. And I didn't think it was going to happen, so I thought I'd just at the end of the night walk around this one point to see if anything popped out. Well, lo and behold, across the field, the edge of another bush line, was a fairly decent looking buck standing there staring in my direction. And I think the rattling and the calling had pushed him up along the edge, and he had considered what coming out. I got some quick little video of him at the edge there looking right at my way, and that was that night. I went back out again, a different position in the same area, and I believe I caught the same buck. He was maybe a real tall 6, and he walked about 80 yards across the field in front of me, but he didn't seem to want to get much closer than that. And that was the last time I saw that deer. I think he's back there, so we'll get another crack at him this year. Now the last buck that I got a chance to see was a small little forkhorn. It was on the last day of the season. It was real cold, it was snowy, it was some tough hunting conditions. I was sitting on a fence line, and this buck came up along the fence line right at dark, and he came up, and I was sitting up to get in position to throw an arrow his way, and as he come up, I think he noticed my crossbow and a little bit of movement. And he caught it right away. Took a couple seconds to think about it, and he jumped and turned around and went back to where he came from. So those are the 4 bucks I had to crack at. I did shoot a doe this year in 2013 with the bow, and did fill the freezer, so it wasn't a disaster by any means. But certainly, I had a good look at some bucks last year. I hope to have the same ones back this year.
Father and son hunting can be viewed at their website, fshunting.com. YouTube, Vimeo, Camospace, Facebook and Twitter, and hunted.tv network.
So, spring turkey hunt 2014. Two things, cold and wet. It was a tough turkey hunt. I put a lot of time into it this past spring. I didn't get back what I thought I deserved. One morning though, I went out. It was a cool morning. It had rained the night before. I got out there in good time. It was still dark out. Got my strutting tom set up and a hen decoy. Got them out about, I would say, 20-25 yards out. And then I found a spot under some nice small sapling trees covered with a bit of brushy area around me. And I felt like it was a good spot. I've been there before. I've had success there before. So any kind of pre-scouting I had done, I knew it was a spot to be. And sat there. The sun started to come up. And right quick off the bat, there was a gobble across the way in the attached bush that runs north-south. Lone gobble, and I stayed pretty quiet for a bit. I let him do his thing, and then I started making a few calls. So I made a few calls, and after a few minutes, I could tell that this tom had finally hit the ground, and his gobbling started to get further away, and then it would come a little bit closer, and then I'd go a little further away again, and then he'd come back again. So I wasn't just sure what he was doing there in that bush. Again, he was probably at that point 400 yards away. He was a fair piece away. I made a few more calls, and then just over the horizon, on the far south point of the bush, on top of a hill, there they show up. Five hens come over the top with this big strutting tom. So this tom and these five hens, they start to feed up on top of this hill. And right away I figured, well, two things are going to happen here. Either these hens are going to come in and check out my tom and hen decoy, which will pull that big guy in, or two, these hens are going to ignore the decoys and come nowhere close to me and just walk away with the tom following me. There's no way I'm going to pull this big guy in off five hens. So these five hens are feeding up on top of this hill with this nice big tom strutting out, fanned out, doing his dance up there with them, having a great morning. So what happens to these hens? Well, they start to cut across in front of me, but about 200 yards out. After a few minutes though, I learned pretty quickly that these hens were not going to come in to my decoys to inspect them out. They were simply going to cut across about 200 yards away, across the field, and not even come close. And the big tom was in tow. So at that point I gave a few more calls, using a mouth call that morning. Gave a few more calls, and I had a strutting tom with a string attached. And I moved that tail a few times and got it moving back and forth. And sure enough, that tom started to gobble it my way. And within a minute or two, he turned off these 5 hens and started working towards his way right to my decoys. I knew right away when he turned off those 5 hens that he was going to come in. And he came in hard. When he turned, he strutted straight in towards the hen decoy. He went right up to her, gave her a quick look, and then quickly turned his attention to the tom decoy. He was bigger than the tom decoy that I had. He went right over to it, and he let him know who was boss. Not once, but twice. So after he was finished teaching that young tom that I had a lesson, he kind of spun around, and at that point I felt I had a great shot. He had turned his back to me so I'd get the gun up and took aim and lucked out pretty good and got a nice tom. Now when all the commotion was over, the hens then, after I had shot the tom, then they decided to come over and see what was going on. So they came rushing right over, and a couple of them got right up into the decoys, and of course the tom laying on the ground there, and eventually they took off after a quick inspection and knew something wasn't right, and they left the area. So what did I learn from that hunt that morning? I learned, yes, you can pull a nice big mature tom off 5 hens during the breeding season. I felt that decent calling was helpful. I felt that having a tom decoy out with the hen for competition-wise was an advantage. And I also felt even that the tail that moves on that tom decoy helpful. I think that just helps give a little more natural look at a distance. I think the tom saw that, and I think that helped bring him in. It's father and son hunting, living our outdoor dream.